In this video, I'm going to show you some extremely simple strategies to help your law firm's Google business profile rank, drive traffic, and generate leads. Why should you care about optimizing your profile? It's because it helps you rank here. And I call this beachfront real estate on the internet. And there are dozens of things you can do and change to rank in this Google local pack. Let's jump into the 7 most important things for your law firm, starting with 2 things that very few other SEO experts talk about. Why should you care about optimizing your Google business profile? And the answer is it helps you rank here. This is beachfront real estate on the internet. It's called the Google local pack, and there are dozens of things that you can do both within your profile and within your website to help you rank here in the Google local pack. And in this video, we're going to be talking about some of those really important things. The first thing is to consistently add photos and videos. This might sound impossible for your law firm, since unlike a roofer, you're not out working on physical structures that you're able to take photos of, but it's actually easier than you think. Every week, your team is handling cases, they're prepping, they're seeing clients' problems in real time. And you can share your legal expertise through video just like this one. And a really important note here that most law firms get nervous about is that these videos and photos don't have to live on your website. They live on your profile where very few people will actually see them. They're more for Google than they are for users. So how do you do this in practice? Every week, place a different team member in front of a decent background. Could be a bookshelf or a white wall. Have them share little snippets of their knowledge in 30 to 45 second chunks. So for example, if you're an employment lawyer, they could share info about a new law that's affecting your specific state, or a recent case win, or about how you push for arbitration first, really just about anything. Now, you could also batch these video sessions once every 3 months. Each video session could hit 10 topics or 15 topics, and it should take you less than 30 minutes. From there, send those videos off to someone on Upwork where they can gently edit them for less than 10 bucks an hour. Voila, you now have consistent video content for your Google business profile. As a law firm, adding photos and videos seems like a really strange thing to do, and I can assure you that it's easier than you realize. So let's open up one of these profiles real quick and take a look at what we have going on. This is where you can add the photos, right? So this is the area that you can add photos and videos, but there's another area that folks often don't think about. I'll show you our profile, and you can go to where we have these Google business profile posts. These posts, you can add photos or videos here, and then you can write a mini article basically. And now every week, your team is probably handling cases and prepping. They're seeing clients' problems in real time. So for these photos, they don't need to live on your website. They can just live within your profile. And again, you're prepping for all of these cases every single week, and you can do just what I've done here. Now, a lot of our products are digital products in a way, like sharing information and strategies. For you, imagine a talking head video once a week where you talk about a particular estate planning approach or a new law that just went into effect that might influence, a certain part of your work. By batch, the recommendation would be, and we've seen law firms do this really, really well, is once a month, batch 4 to 6 videos. All you need is an iPhone or a new smartphone. They have amazing cameras. Put someone in a chair or in front of a white wall and just ask them a few questions. Hey, what's going on right now with some of the clients that you're seeing? And they obviously keep confidential information, but they can share these types of strategies and approaches. And now you have content for your Google business profile that you can add here and you can add in the area here. The second thing is to get 5-star reviews for your law firm ASAP using some really basic hacks. Now, caveat here, definitely get real reviews from paying clients, but this hack is a little bit different. My guess is that you work with at least a few other professionals. It could be lawyers in other areas of law. It could just be business colleagues that you know. Google allows anyone to leave you a review, so long as that review is honest. So ask all of your professional connections for a Google review. You probably have at least 5, if not 10 to 20. When you ask them for a review, make it really, really easy. Send them a note that says something like, hey, Steve, I'm looking to get more Google reviews for my business. Can you please spend 30 seconds leaving me a review? Here's the link. It's very, very important that you leave that link for them. They could say something like, Joey and the team at XYZ Law Firm are really good at what they do. quality of their work is next. Within the next 30 days, you should be able to get at least 5 reviews, if not more than that. And while this seems small, it can really make a difference. So getting reviews matters because of this. The state attorney, Seattle, 107 reviews, 202 reviews, 55 reviews, 132 reviews, 171 reviews, 161 reviews. So it depends on where you're located. Maybe you're located in a smaller community, and now we've got still 61 reviews, 54 reviews, and 282 reviews. So there's a quick hack that you can use here. And let's take a look at this business real quick. And my guess is we can see some really kind of generic reviews here. This one doesn't even have a written description, right? Matthew is very professional, patient, and capable. Anybody could say this. This person may or may not be a client of theirs. It's pretty unclear. And so just saying something like that from a business colleague is allowed. So you could say, again, can you please spend 30 seconds leaving me a review? Here's the exact link to do so. It's very important that you give them the exact link. Otherwise, people don't know where to go. Depending on your practice area, depending on where you're located, that could be the difference from getting you from, let's say you have 30 reviews, you're based in Bend, Oregon, 30 to 40 really quickly could be the difference to push these folks out and push you in. The third thing is to make sure your law firm's Google Business Profile categories are set up properly. And this is actually where it can get a little bit confusing for law firms, and I'll get to that in a minute. If you want to rank in the Google Local Pack for law firm related queries, then your primary category should align with your ideal area of practice. Some law firms just specialize in personal injury. Others specialize in multiple areas. And again, this is where it can get confusing. So let's say you want to rank for employment lawyer in Seattle. If you do this query, you'll notice that the primary category of every lawyer ranking is employment attorney. Many larger law firms that specialize in multiple areas of practice, for their Google Business Profile, they'll just put law firm as their primary category. And this can be a big problem. And here's proof. The categories for law firms is where it gets really confusing and challenging. So let's take a look here. This is the primary category in most instances. Sometimes Google will populate a secondary category, but for these businesses, this is their primary category. Estate attorney, Seattle. Estate planning attorney, estate planning attorney, estate planning attorney. Here we go again. Estate planning attorney, estate planning attorney, estate planning attorney. If I change this to something like UI lawyer Seattle, criminal justice attorney, criminal justice attorney, criminal justice attorney. If I change this to divorce lawyer Denver, divorce lawyer, divorce lawyer, divorce lawyer. And so, there are many practice areas that you may operate within, and we've seen this, and this is the biggest challenge, is there's a larger firm and they do multiple practice areas. What do you put as your primary category? And what a lot of folks get wrong is they say, well, we're just a law firm. And we do a bunch of different practice areas. So we're just going to put law firm, and they're ranking because they have 1,800 reviews. But for most folks that just put law firm, you're ending up kind of saying that you do something too broad, because a lot of people will not just search for law firm. They'll search for estate planning attorney. They'll search for divorce lawyer. They'll search for personal injury attorney. They'll search for, workplace accident lawyer. And if you specialize in one area, but you also do other areas, that's where you need to be really strategic. So workplace injury lawyer. And here we have personal injury attorney, personal injury attorney. And so the recommendation is, if you do multiple areas of law, put the primary category as your most desirable. So if you do personal injury and you do something else, like maybe you do some corporate law as well, then put personal injury attorney as your primary category. That means that from an SEO and rankability perspective, you're quote unquote pigeonholing yourself, but it's better than just putting law firm and then not ranking for either personal injury attorney or corporate law. Again, this is an area where folks get really wrong. And so recommendation is play around with that. Search for your different areas of law and see who's ranking and what their primary categories are listed as. Fourth, add a localized keyword to the first few words of your Google Business Profile's primary description. So AKA employment lawyer in city name, like Seattle or New York. And make sure your primary description is as close to 750 characters as possible. This right here is your primary description. And if you're an employment lawyer based in Seattle, then the start of your primary description could look something like, we're a trusted employment law firm in Seattle with 10 years of experience and hundreds of clients served. Really basic and gets that keyword right into the beginning. The primary description is, let's search for this business, and we'll see them ranking over here in the knowledge graph. And then we can see that they have the ability to write this primary description. And you can see that in their first sentence, they've added estate planning. Now, they didn't add a localized keyword. If I were this business, I would probably say something like, I'm an estate attorney in Seattle. They are already performing well. They have 107 reviews, estate planning attorney as their primary category. Just to make it even more clear, the first sentence is really where Google starts. And so I'm an estate planning attorney in Seattle, Washington. Pro tip on this one, embed your Google business profile into the footer of your website. Here's exactly how you embed that. Another tip here, just a little pro tip to add on to this, is embed your Google business profile on your website. How do you do that? You click on the little maps area, you hit share, you hit embed a map, and now this is an embeddable map of your Google business profile. What a lot of folks get wrong is they embed a map of their address, 123 Main Street. By embedding your profile, you're pulling in all of the reviews, all of the content, and kind of inserting that onto your website. So just a little pro tip there that I highly recommend doing. Fifth, make sure your website link within your Google business profile is correct and points to the HTTPS secure version. Here's where that is in an example of a business doing it incorrectly. Here's what that means. So if we copy this link address and we throw it in here, we can see it's HTTPS. This means that it's the secure version of the website. What we see a lot of is law firms will have the HTTP version of their website linked in their Google business profile. Again, that's this link here that you can edit on the back end. And Google's smart enough, like if you look, I can type in the HTTP version, it will redirect me to the secure version. So you can see here, it's switched over to HTTPS. It did require the server to do a redirect. And that means that Google's bots have to go through a redirect every single time they visit your website, which is an extra step. Google has, limited resources when it goes and crawls the internet. And so by forcing it to go through an additional step, it doesn't love that. It'll figure it out. This business obviously is still ranking in the Google local pack, but ideally, they have their HTTPS. If they didn't, they still might be able to if they have hundreds of reviews. Google looks at everything individually, but this is a really easy thing that takes 10 seconds to change, so you might as well have the secure version added. The sixth thing is to consider updating your Google business profile name using a localized law firm keyword. And with this one, you're going to want to get a DBA, doing business as, which is actually really cheap and easy to do. As you may have noticed with your competitors, they're gaming the system. They're adding keywords into their Google business profile business name. This is something that you may want to consider, but again, only if you get the DBA with your state. You may have noticed that with some of your competitors, they're gaming the system. Here's a perfect example, estate attorney, New York. You have this person's business name, and then take a look at this. This isn't their actual business name, right? When they first created their business, they didn't think, I'm gonna add this. Same thing here. Their business name is Morgan Legal Group, and then it says estate planning and probate attorney, New York City. This is a game that Google rewards. I think if they did not have this added, they would not be ranking here in the Google local pack. I can almost guarantee that. And so how do you play this game if you want to play this game? What I recommend you do is you get a doing business as DBA with your local state. So again, if your business name is Workrite, sounds pretty cool. It's a employment law firm, and let's do employment New York and see what shows up here. So for example, your employment law firm's business name is currently Workrite. Sounds pretty cool. You may want to get a DBA for the business name Workrite Employment Law. Now you've hit the exact match keyword of employment law directly in the business name of your profile. All right, so we can see here, they're already playing the game. But let's assume that your business name was just Workrite. So there's this Phillips and Associates. Yours just said Workrite here. Changing it to say Workrite Employment Law York is somewhat reasonable. Like, I wouldn't flinch twice at this. Maybe the New York's a little bit weird, but I wouldn't 100% would not flinch twice at this. And having the word employment law can be the difference between ranking here and not ranking here. And again, you can get a DBA with your state. And basically what that does is it makes you legally authorized to use that business name as your name. You can now go by that business name publicly. And so why I share that is Google might, when you change from this to this, Google might flag you and ask you to verify your business. Not that they're going to take you off the internet, but they might say, hey, we're going to go through a verification process. Can you prove that this is your business name? Because you changed it from just this to all of this. And by then sharing documentation with the state of New York, showing that you have the DBA, it'll get approved. The seventh thing is to ensure your homepage's title tag, meta description, and header tags align with the keyword that you want to rank for. For example, you're an employment law firm in Seattle, then you probably want to rank for the keyword employment lawyer in Seattle, Washington. Makes sense. Therefore, your homepage's title tag, meta description, and header tags should hit this exact keyword. Here's exactly what this means with an example. All right, so the title tags and meta descriptions and header tags, this is a title tag, this is a meta description. And as you can even see here, employment law firm in New York, employment discrimination, wage and hour issues, sexual harassment. Why does that matter? Well, Google, when it looks at your Google business profile, it doesn't look at it in a silo. Google knows that if it chooses to rank you in this Google local pack, that people are going to click to your website. And they're likely, for most businesses, going to click to your homepage. The homepage is what's linked in this profile. So Google's going to look at your homepage and say, what's the content on it, including the title tag, the meta description, and the header tags on the page. A header tag is just the big words on the page for the most part. And you can see here, they have added these keywords to their homepage headers, the H1 and H2 below, you can see here. So sometimes it's not just the content on your profile, and people forget that. It's the content on your website, and the easiest things to change are your title tag, your meta description, and then your header tags on the page, using things like employment attorneys serving New York and New Jersey. These 7 strategies will take your law firm's Google business profile to the next level, driving more leads, more visibility, and more revenue. But these strategies are just the tip of the iceberg. I'd say that if you do the actions in this video, you just got yourself 40% of the way there, which is killer. But if you want to compete with the big kids, you're gonna need to do more than that. And we've helped law firms not only optimize their Google business profile, but optimize their entire digital presence. We're a full-service digital marketing agency. Go to our website, it's linked in the description, and reach out. I personally will jump on a call with you. See you in the next video.